Welcome to the Life Podcast with BFR, a space where we celebrate life, support families, and inspire our community to thrive. In today's episode, we're excited to introduce Cathy Renz, RN, BSN, one of our amazing staff nurses.
This episode contains sensitive content, which may be upsetting to some listeners. Please see the show notes for details. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. Good morning, Sarah.
Hey, Tess.
How are you?
I'm good. You know, I was, as you were saying that intro, I was kind of chuckling because, you know, some people may not be listening in the morning, and I think we start off every time, because we can record in the morning, and I think it's just kind of funny to me that you say that every time.
I do. I apologize to you
okay.
listeners.
It was just funny. I had this moment where you were saying that. I was like, you know, some people may be listening to this at night, and so if you're one of those people, we apologize.
Good evening.
But yeah, good evening.
Good afternoon. We're happy that you have joined us, no matter what time of day that it is.
If you're having your coffee or if you are having your nighttime drink, whatever that may be. Tess, something really cool that happened recently in our center organization. We always are having babies born. That's always, you know, I mean, we have many babies in utero, but many babies being born all the time. But we had a sweet baby born recently who was saved because we offer an amazing service in our clinic, which we shorten it to say APR, but that stands for abortion pill reversal. And it's just, and we haven't talked about that yet on the podcast, but we're going to be talking about it in a future episode.
Yes.
When we bring back Naomi, our clinical services director. And this baby would not be here if it was not for the services that we provide in our clinic and our amazing staff and our amazing community of supporters and donors who help fund the work that we do. And so it's just beautiful to think about. And so we celebrate this precious life.
Yeah, literally a life saved.
Yeah. Yep. Snatched and saved.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
It is. And I know we are going to talk about APR later, so I won't dive into this, but you can't say APR without acknowledging the fact that our center is one of 13 centers in the state of Georgia, only 13, and we're one of them that offer that abortion pill reversal. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
And we're very proud of that.
Yeah, we are. Well,
speaking of our amazing clinical staff,
yes,
we are so excited to have with us our precious Cathy. Hi, Cathy.
Good morning, Cathy.
Hi, good morning or afternoon or evening.
I'm never going to get out of that habit.
I know.
Yeah, I thank you all for bringing me here. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story as well as about BFR.
Well, we're so excited to have you, Cathy, but some of our listeners may not know who you are. So could you share a little bit about who you are? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I am a child of God. My roles, I consider that we all have roles here on earth. And so one of my many roles here is I'm a mama to 3 adult children. I am a nanny in Mimi to 6 beautiful grandkids ranging from 3 to 15. And at the same time, I am a nurse of 37 years.
Wow.
So we'll say seasoned nurse. How about that?
Very seasoned indeed, I would say.
It's incredible that you have stayed in the field that long because it's hard. Nursing is hard. And so that's incredible. But tell us a little bit about your nursing journey.
Sure. Well, my nursing journey started really as a little bitty girl. I wanted to be a nurse at a very young age. But when I went away to college, I decided, no, I did not want to be a nurse. I was going to go into business. And for a short time, I did that. I quickly came back to my heart. My mom asked me, what is it that you want to do? And I said, I've always wanted to be a nurse. And she said, then you can be a nurse. And so that's where I started my nursing. But I started it when I graduated in the ICU unit. It was a med-surg trauma ICU. Wanted to know everything, as much as I could learn, but also was in that fix-it stage, and I wanted to fix people. I wanted to heal them. I wanted to have an impact on their life.
Wow.
So when I started going to funerals, I decided that I might need to change roles in that nursing. So I've had many very rewarding different roles, different hours of the day I've worked in different capacities. They've all taught me something about myself, about the world, and really, truly about God.
Well, what does your role specifically look like at BFR?
My role as a nurse, I had no idea what the role of a nurse was at BFR until I came. My role here is that I am able to sit with a client, and I have sat with a client for 15 minutes. I've sat with a client for 3 hours before. Because we gave that client what that client needed at the time. And that's one of the beautiful things that I've seen while working here at BFR. I have learned to drive the mobile unit.
Woohoo!
And you do that so well. I mean, I have ridden on the mobile unit with you, Cathy, and you are an incredible driver of that giant, how long is it?
It is 32 feet.
32-foot RV,
Yes.
big unit, and you do that amazingly well.
Yeah. And recently learned how to do ultrasounds. So it's a fabulous job.
And what initially brought you to BFR?
Well, initially I was told about the job from a friend through Facebook. And so that's initially how I had no idea exactly what BFR did. I needed a job at that time in my life. And so I knew a little bit because I'd gone on the internet, but not until I sat down in that interview did I know that this is exactly where I was supposed to be. And I didn't know why.
I love that came from a Facebook post, that your friend saw that.
It did.
It's just how I'm going to take that because it was sometimes I don't never know if my Facebook posting is doing anything, and so right there it's
Look
worth
at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you sometimes when we step into a new season or a new role, and sometimes we're just stepping in obedience when we don't know why God has us in certain places, and I think that became probably pretty clear to you not long after you started with us. And so we really brought you in, Cathy, today to share your story. It's beautiful. It's hard, but it is beautiful. And God has used you in incredible ways in our organization. And actually recently in our center, all of our staff have been sharing in our Devo time in the morning, our whys. And so I would love for you to share your why after you found out why.
Sure.
Your why after your why.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back just a little bit and say this. I've been with BFR since 2022. So my why has been evolving throughout. But my why is really full circle of what BFR offers to women, because it is what I needed, but what I didn't receive when I needed it the most. So I'm going to take you back. I was a senior in high school, and I was invited to a church. And I was a kid that we did not go to church all the time. We tended to go to church when things got tough. And so I just felt this strong need and desire to go to church. And so I started going to this church, found Jesus at that church. And but about the same time that I found Jesus, I was raped by the youth pastor there at that church. That sent me on a spiral for many, many, many years. But I can tell you today that I now see that person as an image bearer of God, but he just didn't do a very good job of it at that time. So about 2-3 weeks later, I found out that I was pregnant. I'd missed my period. I'd started having pregnancy symptoms, took a pregnancy test, and the only two people that I felt like I had in my life at that time was my boss and that person, that father of the baby. And so I went to both of those people. The father of the baby, the words that I remember hearing was, "I will take care of it." And so in an 18-year-old mind, I had lots of different emotions with "I'll take care of it, I'll take care of it." But I really didn't process those words until I was handed an envelope with money in it and told to take care of it. So I went to my boss, and at the age of 18, I was told I was very young, had my entire life ahead of me, and that it was really just a clump of cells. The center that I went to on that beautiful Saturday morning, that's exactly the words that I heard as well. That it was just a clump of cells, and that it would be okay. So I went home from that appointment, and 2 months later, the first of my suicide ideation came full front in front of me. And I remember thinking there was no reason that God would love me after I did what I did. And so I was planning out my suicide, and I was given the face of my mama. I know now that that was God touching me, and with his comfort in the way that I needed at that moment. It completely changed my thoughts at that time. And then I shoved those thoughts, feelings, emotions, I packed them way down deep inside of myself. Went to college, became a nurse, hence wanting to know it all and fix all. And then at the age of 32, I was married. I had 3 children, 7, 4, and 2 at that time. And I remember situations and almost as if the world was growing very small and very dark. And I remember sitting in the bathroom and not understanding why I could not get out of this despair, this deep sadness, this darkness. And I was planning my second suicide attempt at that time. The Lord, again, showed up in miraculous ways. He showed me the faces of my children in that instant. And again, at that moment, I remember I started going to church in that moment. But again, the shame and the regret continued to weigh on me on a daily basis. And it chipped away at my soul to where my soul stayed pretty raw most of the time. And it was a day in 2019. It was a fall afternoon in 2019 that I had an argument with my daughter, one of my daughters, adult daughter. That argument ripped the Band-Aid off of my heart in that moment. The unworthiness and the shame just poured out of my pores. And as I was thinking the world would be better off without me, my children would be better off without me, the Lord gave me an image of my 5 grandchildren at that time, their faces, and they were smiling. At that time, instead of turning away from God in the shame, I cried out to God. And I told him, screamed at him, and said, I don't know why you want me, but you have pursued me for 40 years. And so I don't know who I am. I don't know what you want with me, but you can have me. And so in that instant, I surrendered all of the brokenness, all of the pieces that I had made, the ashes that the enemy continued to want to use and keep me from God. I gave them to him at that time.
We would like to take a moment to give a special thanks to our legacy corporate sponsor, Cabins for You. Thank you for your ongoing and steadfast support of Bartow Family Resources.
And so, let me take you now to BFR. In going into a room with our clients, it was about 2 months when I started working at BFR, and I exited that room and went into Naomi's office, and I said, that's me. That's me in that room. She listened. She was compassionate. And she allowed me space to say, do you want me to finish that visit or do you want to go? She said, and I said, I need to go back in there. And it was in that instant that I knew that I needed to be the one to speak truth into these clients, the truth of what it means when you are pregnant, along with the choices that you do have. There are 3 options that someone has when they're pregnant. And those 3 options were not shared with me. And so I find it very important to share the choices along with the risks, along with the impact that it can and will have on you, but ultimately to see them as an image bearer and that they are hurting and that they are scared, and the influences are so important on these individuals.
That scripture, and I can't think of where it is, but that beauty from ashes picture that you just painted just came to my mind, and wow, do you embody that? That out of your pain, those hard places, that you can now be what you needed at that time, and you can be that for these women now. Brings me to tears.
It's so powerful. Yeah. I mean, the fact that a woman can walk into our clinic and they're getting care from a nurse who, you know, you're sitting on the other side of possibly, we see a good bit of abortion-minded and abortion-vulnerable clients, and so you know exactly where they are, and just how what you've been through is able to, how you are able to minister from such a place of mercy and full of grace and truth at the same time is just overwhelming. And I'm just so thankful. I guess my job a little bit, my title's advancement, so my job is to toot the horn of BFR maybe a little bit. But, that's just one of the many things about BFR that makes it so special. And the calling that you have. And, wow, there's just so many places I want to go with this right now. God is so big and so good, and he's continuing to use you and your story. And anyway, it's just beautiful.
Yeah. And in this few years that you've been with us and operating out of, your story and meeting with these women, we have been able to launch abortion care and recovery, or abortion healing, depending on what we call it. And so you've actually been able to walk alongside some women who need to walk through that healing process. And so share a little bit about that with us.
I'd love to. I actually went through the 10-week program of Forgiven and Set Free here at BFR and thought that I was healed because during COVID, that was my time of my healing journey. And so, but again, God continues to uncover and heal. And so we started this 10-week Forgiven and Set Free, and it walks you through the forgiveness of all that's involved. And it opens up some raw areas, but it's exactly where God wants to meet each individual, because abortion hits people in different ways. It's really not thought of that there's a post-abortion syndrome. Well, in looking at all of the symptoms, I almost had every single one of them. And so, some of those are depression, inability to forgive yourself, eating disorders, anger, difficulty in relationships, anxiety, panic attacks, emotional numbness, flashbacks, lowered self-esteem, drug, alcohol misuse, along with suicidal ideation. I was the poster child of all of those. And I truly can pinpoint it back to the abortion that I chose to have at 18. So in this post-abortion recovery, this is a safe place. It's confidential, but it is something that we will walk with you individually. We've got groups that we can get you plugged in, but we'll also walk an individual by themselves if that's what they want, because we really see the need of that specific healing once you've gone through something like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're listening and you have an abortion in your story and you want to walk through healing, reach out to us. You can call us or you can go to our website, bartofamilies.com, and you can reach out to us that way if you'd rather it be more confidential. And Cathy or one of our other staff members will reach out to you and get you plugged in. And we just encourage you to do that. And Cathy, is there anything you want to say specifically to a woman who might be listening?
Yeah, abortion is one of those secrets that the enemy will and wants to use. Mm-hmm. So if you're trapped, if you feel stuck, please come see us. Yeah. Please reach out to, there's lots of different healing ways, different segues, but you need the healing. Mm-hmm. We need healing from this.
We would like to take a moment to give a special thanks for our sustaining corporate sponsors: Conscious Bay, NIDA Financial, AAA Metalworks, and Genuine Parts Company. Thank you for your ongoing support. Thank you so much for sharing, Cathy. We've said that we want this podcast to be a place where it's a source of hope to other people, and I feel certain that you've given that to people today, shared that with us today.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'd love to tell you that my son's name is Noah. Mm. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. So, Cathy, something that I just feel compelled to ask in this moment is, we all have women in our life, whether that's a sister or a daughter or a friend or somebody at church, and they might find themselves, faced with, oh my goodness, I think I'm pregnant, or I just found out that I for sure am pregnant. And they've come to you. How do we respond to someone? How do you wish that somebody would have responded to you?
I wish that there had been a place like BFR that someone would have pointed me to in that direction in order for me to have heard the truth, and that would have sat beside me and heard me at that moment. I don't think I was ever heard at that moment. And what is so beautiful about BFR is that it's such a non-judgmental, loving, open place for women to come, no matter what their story, no matter what they've done, they are safe. and they're going to hear the truth, but they're not going to be judged in the middle of it.
Yeah. And you can say that if somebody's coming to you and saying, I'm in a crisis, you can say that to them of, hey, I have this place. I know this place. They're incredible. They're women. They're going to love you, and they're going to provide that safe place for you. And so encouraging them to come to the center. Just make a phone call or text. We have an amazing text line that is staffed by licensed medical professionals that they can text and ask questions or to get an appointment. So it can be very, very safe feeling.
I'd like to kind of go back to something that you said earlier when we asked you about what your specific role was at BFR, and you made the comment that, you get to sit with these women. And just to further elaborate on exactly what you're doing during that time is what you just said. I mean, you didn't have someone who you didn't feel heard. You didn't have someone that you could talk to about what was going on. And when you say, I feel like it's important to point out, when you say that someone is coming in there getting truth from BFR, we're not just talking about spiritual truth. I mean, we are glad to share that with them if they are asking questions about that. But you are also talking about medical truth and medical information that they're not getting anywhere else. And so part of that, I just wanted to elaborate that on about that a little bit. When you said earlier that you were, sitting with clients when they come in, that's part of what you are doing, correct? I mean, you are letting them be heard, which is something you say, as a part of your story, you did not have. So they're not only able to just talk and be heard, but then you are able to offer them medical, spiritual information, truth. And that's just, it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Thank you for what you do, Cathy.
Oh, it is a pleasure and an honor. I see it as that I get to do this now. Yeah. The medical truth of having an ultrasound, being able to know exactly how far along you are, knowing if you have a viable pregnancy at all, and then sitting down and discussing parenting, adoption, and we do discuss abortion. As the majority of our clients, they are abortion vulnerable or abortion minded. I'm not there to change their mind. I'm there to see them, but to educate them on the medical choices they have, and then be there for them if they choose abortion. Let them know that we have services for them afterwards.
So good.
I love that about BFR because we don't walk away from people. And I believe that that's the gospel, and it is loving people the way Jesus would love them. And it's just a beautiful thing. It's just so special that
there's nothing like it.
No, there really isn't. There really isn't. It's very special.
And I also want to encourage our church family out there. There's, and I'd hate to say statistics because we don't think of people as I can't even say that word. Statistics.
Yeah.
But for our church family to know that in every one of our churches, 1 in 4 women, right, Cathy? 1 in 4 women have experienced an abortion. And I think that's just really good for our community to know that, because more than likely you might be sitting next to somebody and they might need to walk through some healing. And so if you are ever in a position where somebody is coming to you for advice of what to do, where to go, or maybe you're a pastor or you're a staff person at church, you can point them to BFR.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Cathy, for spending this time with us, for being vulnerable, for sharing your story. I'm just always floored by you and all of our staff. You encourage me, and you give us so much hope. And so, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.